Alright, hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of the WindowBuilder Pro tutorial. So what we're going to do is create a new plugin project here that has a sidebar and use the WindowBuilder Pro to build a simple UI for it. Just like I've showed in my earlier tutorials, to create a new plugin you go to File, New Project, select Plugin Project, and you have to give it a name, so I'll call it Acme Window Builder Pro .demo, and everything else is okay on this page, so we'll click next, and we'll give it a useful name here, call it Window Builder Pro Demo Plugin, and at this point we just click finish. So it opens up our manifest file here, and the first thing we want to do is add an extension point for a view. So we'll go to the extension tab and click add. We need to add the org.eclipse.ui.views extension point. So here it is, and we'll select that. And we want to create a new view, so we'll right click, new view. We have to give it an ID, so let's call it our Window Builder Pro view part as the ID. Give it a name, Window Builder Pro Demo, and we need to give it a class as well. So we'll select the class and go through the wizard here. So we'll call it Window Builder Pro View Part. And it already fills out the superclass we need to extend, so we'll click finish. And let's just head back to the manifest file here and click save. So we need to add a sidebar extension point as well, but first we need to add a dependency for that. So we can go to add, go to the dependencies tab, go to add, and the dependency we want is com.ibm.rcp.ui. Add that, and we'll click save. Head back to the extensions tab and click add, and the name of the extension point is com.ibm.rcp.ui.shelfviews. So here's the extension point, and we'll add that one. We also need to give this a unique ID as well, so we'll call it Window Builder Pro Shelf View. Get rid of this 2, and it wants the view ID of the view that's going to put in the side shelf. So head back to our view extension point, copy the ID, and just paste it in here. Okay. So that's all we had to do for extension points. We only need 2. We just need the org eclipse UI views extension point and the side shelf extension point. And we just need to make sure we add the com IBM RCP.UI dependency as well in order to use the side shelf extension point. So if we head over to our class file, you can see here down at the bottom there are 2 tabs, and these 2 tabs were added when we installed the Window Builder Pro plugin. So you have the source tab, and this is where your source code is, and you also have the design tab. And the design tab is the nice WYSIWYG editor that you can use in order to create your UI. So here we have our view part, and there's a number of different controls here we can use. We also have some properties and stuff over here that you can view with the different controls. So what we'll do is add a layout here. Usually every control or view or whatever you're building has some type of layout to it, so we need to give it a layout. We'll choose to use the grid layout since that's generally the most common. So all you gotta do is click on it and then just click on the view part and it adds it there. So now we just need to add some controls to our layout. So we can add a list box. This is basically going to be the UI we built as part of our Jumpstart at Lotusphere 2011. So pretty much, if you've seen that, this is what we're going to build. So it had a list box. Right below that there was a text box as well, so we can select text. Just add that there. And for some reason this is making it very big, but this is a good place to demonstrate some of the properties. So if you go to the layout data for your text box that you just added, we don't really want this to grab excess space at the moment, so we'll get rid of that property for now. And we want to add 3 buttons as well. So we have 1 button, 2 buttons, and 3 buttons, right? So we have, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't want to add a text box, we wanted to add a label. So this is a great way to visualize what you're doing here. So I just deleted that text box, and I wanted a label instead, so I can add that here in between. Okay, so there's our label, our list box, and our 3 buttons. So you can see right now, it's not really taking up much space in the UI, but we can fix that. So what we can do is just click on the control itself and go down to the properties here. And the layout data basically controls how the control is laid out inside the grid layout. So I want to tell it to grab excess horizontal space and grab excess vertical space as well. But you can see here the actual control itself is now grabbing everything, grabbing all the space, but it's still unfortunately just only showing in a portion of that space. So we need to tell it to fill everything out. So what we can do is go up here to the toolbar and say, hey, fill this vertically as well. So we can click that. You can see it filled it vertically inside its box, and I also want to tell it to fill, I'm sorry, that filled horizontally. This will fill vertically as well. But it's only filling its own box. I also want it to span across these 2 columns, so I can go back to the properties and go to horizontal span and just tell it to span 3 columns. So I just need to again just rearrange some of my controls here, and again this is really easy, just drag and drop everything, make sure everything looks right. I want to do the same with my label, so all I gotta do is click on it, tell it to grab excess horizontal space here, and also tell it to fill horizontally. Okay, so we have everything is filled out. Actually, I don't want it to grab excess horizontal space at the moment. I just want it to fill. So everything filled out. Here's our buttons, right? And the other good thing is you can change the properties of these things, and like see it says new label. I can go over here and go down to the text property and change it. So I can change it to be, hello world instead. And you can see that's now changed in my UI. I can do the same with the buttons. Go down here and say new button instead of say button 2 instead. I can also save this and head back to my source tab, and you can see here's all the source of everything that I've just created in the WYSIWYG editor. But I can go in here instead, change the name, change the label of the button to button 1 instead. And if I go back to the design tab, that should be reflected there as well. You can see button 1 is also changed. So the WindowBuilder Pro, it just makes it really easy as far as creating a UI. It took us a few minutes to create this. So you may not be familiar with some of the properties on the side here, but if you're familiar with SWT development, you know what these are. And it's better to see them visually as opposed to having to add them in code, because then you can just check some stuff off, fill out some fields, and it just makes things a lot easier for you. So now let's just launch Notes and see what that looks like. So I actually have to create a new debug configuration here, so I'll do that real quickly as well. And if you're not familiar with this, I did this also in part of my tutorials. So what you do is just create a new debug or run configuration. The client services option is what's added by the Expeditor Toolkit. You double click on that and it will create a new configuration for you, and all you have to do then at that point is just give it a name. And if you want to see it in more detail, go back and look at some of the earlier videos I have on how to do this. Explain it in a little bit more detail and slow it down a little bit for you. So like I said, all we gotta do is just give this a name. We'll go to Name, Notes, and click Debug. much notes for us. And I just gotta log in. And you can see here is our sidebar and with our UI added. Now the one thing I should mention is also about the WindowBuilder Pro. If I go down here and select some of these buttons, you know, in Notes they don't actually do anything yet. I can click on them all I want and nothing happens. But that's because there's no selection listeners added. So I believe you can go down here and selection. Yep. So here you can go ahead and add the selection listeners to this. Nope, actually that's not it, I don't think. You can go in here and add, well, you could add the selection listeners from the properties sidebar as well, and I cannot remember how to do it. Not for sure we could do it from here. That's not it. Alright, well I can't find it, but I'm pretty sure you can do it from here. I'll have to look some more on how to do it, but you should be able to add your selection listeners from here as well, and we'll create them in the code. But that's it for now, so I hope you learned how useful this tool is, and I encourage everyone to try it out and install it on their machine and do their development. Okay, thanks, till next time.